It's more than practical, way more than merely factual. If you wanna know the secrets of a life, it's free. Listen to girls behaving metaphysically. Listen to girls behaving metaphysically.
Welcome to Girls Behaving Metaphysically. Your hosts are two girls who believe that life is awesome, that laughter heals, and that it's possible to find deep spiritual insights in everyday experience. Join Robin Rice and Sumaya Wood for this week's adventure.
Hey everyone. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Cheers.
What are you drinking?
It's been a rough week.
Sorry, I didn't mean to catch you off guard. It looks like kombucha. Oh, I love that. Is that the healthy? What flavor?
I needed something super strong. So I'm
What flavor?
Today. This is the bubbly rose or rosé.
I haven't tried that. My favorite is the pomegranate.
Oh, that's
really good. That's
I'm so impressed that they have them at Costco. So
I know they do. I love that. They have you seen the giant jugs? They have like a gallon, maybe it's a half gallon jug of that brand. Yeah. And we're not even being paid to endorse the product. It's like our little product placement.
What are you drinking?
Just tea, but I'm drinking in my favorite blessed mug.
Okay. Nice.
I know. So, what are we talking about this week?
Oh, we have a special guest.
I know, I love her.
We didn't even ask her how she wanted to be introduced.
We didn't, but we know her. You've known her for way longer than I have.
I know. Well, we can do it. So we have a special guest, and today is our Eat, Love, Pray series for the month. Today is about love.
Because it's day after tomorrow.
Sunday. And everyone loves Sunday.
Who doesn't love Sunday? Exactly.
Well, in the spirit of Valentine's Day and Saint Valentine, we're going with the divine love.
Yes. What does that mean to you?
Let's wait till she's here.
Okay.
So if you're joining us on any of those devices, please say hello and hashtag where you're from, where you're tuning in from. Let us know you're out there.
Well, we have Rodney. Hey, Rodney. Happy Friday back. And TC is with us as well. Awesome to have you back with us, TC. Love it when you're here. So, yeah, we are live on Facebook and YouTube. And so if you join us or if you are catching the replay, just, type in hashtag replay, say hello, let us know you've caught the show. And we would love to hear from you. So, divine love.
Divine love as our guest. This is someone who is amazing love for me. That's what she represents, is love and authenticity. And she has such a story. But right now she is currently the senior minister at Agape Bay Area, which is a spiritual center in Oakland. And she is, I don't even know where to start. You go.
Well, instead of keeping everybody in suspense, our guest is Rev. Joan Steadman, who I love. She was, when I was in Prac 2, she was one of my teachers in Prac 2, and I have adored her pretty much since the moment I met her. She is a bright light. She walks her talk. And to me, she just stands for and as love. So it was a no-brainer to, I think when Robin and I were trying to think through who should be our guest on the love portion of our theme, Rev Joan was a no-brainer. So with that, should we bring her on?
Yeah, yes.
Yay, Rev Joan, we love you.
Thank you. Thank you. I love you. What a beautiful pool of love you've established for me to step into today. Thank you so very much. Okay, so
You hold that space for us so like more times than we can count. So
oh, thank you. Thank you.
Oh, thank
Yeah,
you.
it's so great to be able to create that environment of love where we go, and it's not even that we create it. It's the more we become it, we just are it, and people feel it. But what I want to do to begin with first is you both showed your drinks that you were
Oh
drinking.
yeah, what do you have? What do you have?
Yes. Well, what's in it isn't so exciting. Well, it is for me. It's lemon water, but you got to see the mug here. It's a
That
llama.
is fantastic.
It's a llama.
It's a llama. It says inside, "Como te llama?" Anyway, and I have lemon water in it. My sister gave it to me, and this is actually the first time I've ever used it because when I drink from it, its head hits my nose. But I drink from it today.
That's
It's
fantastic.
very
I love it. It's
So
perfect.
I just had to share that with you. All righty. So love. And I think what you mentioned to me was the title of the talk, if I need a title, but it was great because it got me thinking in an interesting way. Is love the one you're with? And that means a lot to me. And as I was reflecting on it, actually a couple of days ago, it just hit me more than ever before. Who am I with all the time? Love the one you're with. Who am I with all the time? I'm with me all the time. I've and I have to confess that I've often thought of love the one you're with as someone, another dimension of myself, this other person sitting in front of me, and so that got me on the track of self-love. And I know that so many of us have had challenges with loving ourselves. I think well, I speak from my experience. It's fairly easy to go into a meditative state and to love my divinity. And then it gets a little bit thorny when I look at all the human stuff that comes up, when I look at, maybe things I've done or things I've said, or maybe somebody takes exception to something, then it gets a little bit more challenging. So I thought for today, what I would like to do, and I want to say to those of you who are here, I'm real open. If you want to take it in another direction, if you want to ask me something, if you want to comment, please feel free to do that, because I love the dialogue. I'm not wedded to any particular script. I don't have a script, actually. But the direction that I was guided to at least be with in meditation was start with the self-love, and then loving each other and what comes up for us as we are challenged perhaps sometimes with really loving each other. And I think sometimes we're challenged with it because we don't really understand what that means. That just came through. I never thought of that before. But anyway.
No, that's really powerful.
I don't have to tell you. Yeah. I love the way spirit works, because it just kind of like, oh, okay, well, that's interesting. I wonder what
You're
that's
like, oh, that's good.
and what does it mean?
Exactly.
So, I love it. It's such an adventure with spirit. So love the one you're with, loving ourselves. And I think first I want to just say a couple of things. I heard you at the beginning say, well, what is love? What is divine love? And so I think it's so challenging to describe it. I love Ernest Holmes' description of it the best, when he talks about love is the givingness of spirit to and through all of its creation. And so that's what I think of as divine love, that there's this something, whatever we want to call it, there's this something that's continually giving of itself. It began with each one of us by giving of itself through us. It created us. And this is where I start with self-love, that I was conceived from infinite love, that this loving presence that's all giving, that can't do anything but give. That's just its nature. There's no opposite to it. That this one so loved its idea of me, of you, of each one of us, that it has brought us forth on this earth plane to be its hands, its feet, its eyes, its ears, its voice. Wow, that something has loved this unique expression so much that that it's being us, that's being us. And I guess the closest thing to that is when people have children and still there's just so not even, it hardly comes close to it, really. I mean, a parent's love for children, yes, and that child, has a part of the parent in them. It's a little bit different, though, to say that I'm being this person. Do you know what I'm saying? So when I look at divine love, that it created me, and that one of the things I've been really touched by a lot in meditation recently is how everything that God or spirit creates, it also orders and harmonizes and prospers, and it doesn't just go plunk, there you are, and leave us alone. It's given us everything we could possibly need to live our high possibility, to live in joy and bliss, to live our vision, to live our dreams. The catch there is discovering what that is. However, it's known within us. And
Absolutely. So can I ask you a quick question, Rev?
Yeah, please.
So why, I love everything that you just said. And it seems like for many of us, that self-love piece is the hardest part.
Yeah.
Right. It's so easy to love, like you said, I often think of the one you're with as the person sitting, in the room with me. And I think correct me if I'm wrong, Robin, but I think when we were kind of brainstorming the topic, it took, Robin came up with the title. And for me, I was like, I've never thought of it that way. Mm-hmm. Of, loving the one you're with 24/7, 365.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And I'm just curious, I'd love to hear your thoughts on why it seems like it's so hard. Because, I don't know if it's just folks on the spiritual path who have this challenge, or most folks, but it's always easier, it feels to me. I know it is for me to love outwardly.
Yes.
Than to love inwardly.
Absolutely. Yeah. And there's so much in that question, actually. Because also what I've come to the realization of is, and I'm going to get back to answering your question. Yeah. What I've come to the realization of is it's always been easy for me to love other people. That's never been a problem. However, I realized at some point that there was always a little part of me that was holding back. And it was so subtle, I hardly even noticed it.
Huh.
Until I got to and I'm not saying I've totally mastered love, believe me, but the more it grows in me, the easier it is to just, love 100%. And I thought I was doing it before. So anyway, your question, I think it's hard for a lot of people. I don't think it's just for people on the spiritual path. I think I would wager to say, and I have no scientific evidence, I would wager to say that most people on the planet have a challenge with self-love. I would say that. Yeah. And here's the thing. So we come forth, through our parents, we're born, and we're this sparkly, beautiful little being, Now, of course, we could get into reincarnation, but I'm not going to go there. So we're this beautiful, precious little being that's like a sponge, really. We take in everything.
Yeah.
And so we take in our parents' love. If, those of us who are so blessed to have parents that really loved us. I know some people didn't have parents or don't have parents who really love them. So, so we take in everything, we take it in what our parents have told us. And I don't know about everybody else, but my parents, I know they were well-meaning, but I got a lot of messages that I was only okay and lovable if I acted a certain way. Mm-hmm. And so I got it from them. I got it from my religion. I was Catholic. I was raised Catholic. And then I was always spiritual by nature, and I became a Catholic nun. So that was an interesting journey as well. And the educational system, and society in large, I don't think, it's changing now, but I don't think, at least when I was younger and for a long, long time, that we were encouraged to love ourselves or to even look at it.
Yeah.
To even look at that possibility, or to even look at this as something that's wonderful. In fact, I would say probably the way I was raised, it might be looked on as or thought of as conceited.
Yeah, or self-indulgent.
Yeah, self-indulgent. Yeah, self-love.
Exactly.
That was not a good thing, because then you're selfish, you know.
Or self-absorbed.
Or self-absorbed, exactly. And that's
Totally.
not what it means at all. In fact, the more self-loving we are, the less self-absorbed we are. So what happens, at least for me, and anybody that wants can share their experience. For me, I just took on that I had to act a certain way. I had to get good grades. I was the oldest of 7 kids. I had to be responsible. I had to do the, I couldn't sin. There was that whole thing about sin in my upbringing, which had a huge impact on me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fear of going to hell if I didn't go to mass every Sunday. I mean, just all kinds of stuff that I took on. And it's not that the love went away. It just got covered up,
Yeah.
And so all of this human stuff, and still to this day, sometimes some of that can pop up if there's an incident that might trigger that old feeling. So I think, that when we talk about self-love, we're talking about letting go of all the stuff that we hate about ourselves, so to speak. Letting go of not the stuff, that's okay, but just let go of my hatred of those parts of myself.
Or judgment, yeah.
And I know you have a Rumi quote about not seeking love. If you could put that up, because I think that's pertinent right here.
Let me think. Is this the right one?
Yeah.
Yes.
Your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it.
Yeah.
So what Rumi is telling us, great mystic Rumi is telling us, is that the love's already here. We don't have to look for it. And the thing is, when we look for it, being in the human condition, our tendency sometimes is to look for it outside of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to look for it. It's just, can I wake up to it? Can I have the realization that it is my life? Go ahead, Robin.
And I think, just getting back to that question, though, what's coming up for me is that when we're looking through our lens, we've already taken in all the stuff that our parents have said and that society has said. So we've got all of that happening. Mm-hmm. And when we look inside or at someone else, we don't see that. We see the beauty, we see the grace, we see the reflection of who we really are in other people. So it's easier to love.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
We know all our own warts, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I love that, Robin. I think that's such a good point, and I think that's one of the reasons it's really important to watch who you with, to choose who you want to be around, what vibrations you want to subject yourself to, so to speak, and to really create that. That's why, in spiritual community, both down at Agape International and at Agape Bay Area, love is, agape means unconditional love, that love is so important that we consciously create that atmosphere that people can walk into, so that eventually people can learn to love themselves. Now, my journey to self-love. Oh, go ahead, Robin. I can see you have something.
I know, Samaya, do you want to share what TC?
Yeah, I was just about to share. TC shared something that's lovely. So things shifted in my self-love journey with this. You are a place where divine love shows, or where the divine shows up in the world. I started taking better care of myself because I am where the divine shows up in the world. Somehow it made it personal and immediate. So is that your own quote, TC, or did you find that? I love that
Beautiful.
Quote.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's sometimes a challenge to remember.
Well, and that's the next thing I was going to say, is that for me, the journey was really, and it's exactly what TC is saying. Thank you, TC. It's exactly what you're saying, is really learning, relearning, because there's something in me that already knows, but relearning who I really am, and that this love is already present, and that I am worthy of love because of my spiritual identity. It took years of that for me, because I had been so well indoctrinated in not loving myself. And so it took a very long time. And it took being willing to not do the spiritual bypass thing, but to be willing to sit with those parts of myself that I didn't like,
Mm-hmm.
to really sit with them and to let myself feel them rather than just try to pray it away. But okay, there's this flaw. We could call their flaws, what the world, and they aren't really flaws, but that's what we call them. And so I have this flaw within me, or that not within me, but I that motivates some of my actions. I have this flaw, and what I used to do especially when I was a Catholic, what I used to do is, I can't, that can't be true about me. I have to push that aside. It was typical repression. I can't look at it. I have to put it aside. I have to be holy. I have to be, in those days for me, it was religious. I have to do, I have to follow all the prescriptions of this particular religion, whatever. But,
Yeah.
And now it's just, the minute I start to see it, I'm like, okay, where, and I know Cindy talked about this last week, what is this feeling like?
Yeah.
What's it feel like to me? Where does it sit in my body? And for me, it's usually in the solar plexus, although it can hit in other places too. And at the same time, be willing to just witness it, just look at it without judgment. So I feel it, and I know that both of you are probably very skilled, in this practice. But it's that mindfulness of I'm letting myself feel it, and I can let myself feel it because I know that it's not going to take over me. I think at a certain point in my life, I thought if I felt something, it would just take over. It's like, well, I always have been, I used to cry a lot, and it scared the heck out of me because I thought I'd never stop. It was so intense. And it's that same way with some of these feelings. Will it ever go away? And I guarantee you it'll go away when you, and that's not the point of it. The point of it is just to witness it. However, the side effect of witnessing it is it gets released,
Mm-hmm.
And so it's powerful.
It's
sitting with rather than trying to get rid of.
And it's so interesting, everything that you just said, because I was thinking about it, and we have so much stuff added on, like you said, we're sponges. And, I think our task is to delayer, if you will, right? And with that delayering, it's not the same as avoiding.
Right.
And I think that's the thing that, for some folks on the spiritual path, it's doing that spiritual bypass to avoid rather than acknowledging and accepting. And in that process, the delayering happens all by itself.
It absolutely does.
It's like slowly but surely we're wringing out that sponge.
Right. Yes, exactly. That's a great analogy. Yeah, exactly. It does happen by itself when we can just, do these simple practices. And for me, it all comes back to, it's what TC was talking about. It's all comes back to my divine identity.
Exactly.
And I spent years just focusing on that when I first got into religious science and metaphysics and new thought, just years. Because in the convent, which was really a good experience for me, I always have to say, because people think, oh, the convent, how horrible. I was in the convent for 9 years. It was not horrible. It was a beautiful experience. We meditated a lot. We prayed a lot. And I was in a community that was very socially progressive. And so actually, I'd come from a conservative Catholic family, and it really shifted me in so many ways, made me so much aware of social issues and at the same time going deep. But anyway, the point I was going to make is in the convent, we were told that God is within you. And that's that's strong anyway, compared to what a lot of religions teach. But we were taught, God is within you. The kingdom is within. But it didn't go so far as to say God is who and what you are. And that's what I'm talking about, for us to get that it's who and what I am. That spirit is the what of me. My divine side is the what of me. And my human side is the who of me, the way the way I show up. The way Sumaya shows up in the world is different than the way Robin shows up, or TC shows up, or Rodney shows up, or that I show up. So that's the who. And that spirit, it's so beautiful because spirit moves through us in such diverse ways. And yet we're all that same what,
Yes, exactly. I love, it's bringing to mind, so Mary Baker Eddy referred to us as the divine reflection.
Yes.
And Robin knows this, and I love looking up words in the dictionary and for getting new insights and into the meanings. And one time when I looked up the word reflection, I discovered that one of the meanings is something that gives evidence of something. And so when I put that in the context of Mary Baker Eddy's description, I realized she's just saying we are God giving evidence of itself.
Right.
And so that's just my when I remember that, and remember that that's true for me, it's true for Robin, it's true for you, Rev Joan, it's TC, Rodney, and everybody in the world, including those people who put me in a spin.
Absolutely.
And so that that for me is, in addition to that, the self-love practice, I have to, when I'm in that spin, and sometimes I can do it in the moment, and sometimes I have to de-swirl before I can remember that person who has me upset or angry or whatever, and sometimes that person is me, is God giving evidence of itself.
Yes. Yeah.
And therefore it can't be wrong.
That's right. Well, and I look at it too as when we all came on this earth plane, we made soul contracts with each other. And so some of the people, I would say probably all of the people that have disturbed me the most are really my soul friends. I'm thinking of one person in particular many years ago that just, it was so challenging. I would get so afraid when this person came into my office, because he would be so angry with me. And anger was a thing I did not experience in my family. It was a whole passive aggressive package. So anger really kind of terrified me. But he came in, he would come into my office very upset about things, and his face would get all red, his neck veins would pop out. I honestly sometimes thought, oh my God, I hope he doesn't have a heart attack, because he was, and I was terrified. I was so scared because I'd never had anybody yell and scream at me that way. And what I got to start practicing, this has been a real practice for me over the years. I began to practice being undefensive, not defending myself. Now that might sound like I was just kind of, lying down and letting him walk all over me. It wasn't that. Didn't come from a place like that. Where it came from was my heart, my essence can't be hurt, harmed, or endangered by anybody or anything. And so can I practice just listening? Because honestly, to defend myself would have made things worse. It just would have been horrible. And so can I just practice being undefended in my heart? And I had read that somewhere in the Course of Miracles. It's so funny because over the years I've tried to find where I read it and I can't find it, but it's one of those things. But just the undefended heart. And I have spent years cultivating that, so that when somebody is upset, I can listen. And yes. Thank you, TC. I appreciate that. I can listen and be as present as I possibly can with them. And of course, even in that practice, the fear does start to dissolve itself. And what it taught me was, no matter how upset somebody is with me, and it was a huge teaching for me, and it was a huge spiritual growth. So I look at that person as one of my biggest friends on this planet. Now, would I necessarily choose to be with this person? No. Because I don't choose to consciously put myself in toxic environment, but we aren't in each other's environment anymore anyway. But so that practice has been huge for me. And it all comes back to, knowing who I am, knowing my divinity, knowing that nobody can hurt that part of me. Now, would I put myself in a situation where I think I would be physically hurt? No, of course not. I just want to, do that disclaimer right now.
Right.
No, of course not. We don't want to do that.
Well, and it also sounds like it has something to do with really trusting that it's all on purpose.
Exactly. Yes.
It's all in alignment with your higher good somehow.
Absolutely. He was presenting me with an opportunity to grow in ways.
Sometimes those opportunities are not fun.
No, they are. And in ways, because most of my life, people haven't been angry with me, and so he gave me huge opportunities, and I'll be forever grateful. One of the things that came to me too, I haven't thought of bringing that up today, but one of the things that comes to me too is the more, and I know Reverend Michael talks about this, the more I can be unoffendable, the more I can work with not getting offended, then the easier it is for me to love, the easier it is for me to be undefended in my heart.
Yeah.
That's so beautiful.
I love that.
It's interesting because I was just having a conversation with a friend yesterday on that very subject, and what I shared with her was my own experience in that is that whenever I'm offended by something, our go-to is usually, well, that person's a jerk, or, fill in whatever blank that you want to, and they need to change in order for me to feel better. And probably the biggest lesson on my spiritual journey has been, I always need to go within.
Yes.
Because if they're saying something that's, I can't, if I'm expecting somebody else to change in order for me to feel better, I've 100% given my power away.
Right.
And number two, if I'm offended by something, it's clear I'm taking something personally that maybe I don't need to be. And so that's just kind of a go-to. Again, sometimes it's in the moment and sometimes it's after it stops spinning around the room.
Yeah.
But that's been a wonderful practice of, if I am offended, which doesn't happen very often these days, but why? What is it that I'm believing? What lie am I believing about myself, the other person, the situation, the world, that's got me thinking that something other than, God or capital G good is present?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The minute if I start to feel offended, I have to just stop and look at it and go, wait a minute, what in me is feeling, I got an email recently, and I could feel that energy of being offended coming up. This is how and I see you want to talk, Robin. Please remember that, what you're going to say. But, and I could feel that energy, and I just had to stop and go, okay, wait a minute. What is this that's getting triggered in you? And it was an old program that I had to do everything right, and that somehow I wasn't doing this right. And it wasn't even so much about this person. It was more about me going to a beat up place around myself. And so, can I not take offense? And then when I open to that, I notice, where is this offense really coming from? Am I offending myself, or am I, whatever, you get what I'm saying. Anyway, I'm curious to hear what Robin was going to say.
Well, I have two things, actually. One is, I was thinking about what you were saying, and I was thinking, I feel like that's how I live my life a lot. Not because I'm trying to, but especially being multiracial as I am, a lot of things come up with people saying things, off the cuff that, like, for example, when I was young in school, I had this experience where a girl invited me over for dinner. And when she found out I was African American, she said, "Oh, would you like fried chicken and watermelon for dinner?" And I knew, and I was in high school, but I don't know how I knew. Like, I wasn't offended at all. And all my friends were like, oh, no, she didn't. Oh, no, oh, no. And I'm like, she doesn't know.
Right.
She doesn't know. She doesn't know what she doesn't know. She's trying to be cordial and she's seen it in a movie or her parents have said it or whatever. And I had to educate. And I feel like that's so much of what goes on in the world around those things. Like, if we could all come from that place
Mm-hmm.
of taking a breath and not going into defensive mode, or, finally you get it, or, whatever it is. And so the second part of my thought or question was, so how do you do this? Like, where do you find the basis if you don't have all of this knowledge that, or this spiritual background, or if you're not able to see the capital G good?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, you're in a place where life is shitty, and it's, like, how do you look and go, but I am a radiant light,
Yeah, that's such a good point, because I think that John
Just sharing John's lovely note. Thank you, John.
Thank you, John. I think that that's really a good point, because I wonder that, honestly. That's a question I have. How do people deal with this? Now, I know some people learn these things in therapy, so that's one way, and of course the spiritual path, and I think sometimes, honestly, there's this thing called grace. And I think sometimes people just get hit over the head by a huge balloon or something of grace, where all of a sudden there's a wake up. And again, I think grace is another example of God's love, God's givingness. But in terms of, I don't know how people deal with it who aren't on the spiritual path, who haven't reflected, like even with therapy, have not reflected within themselves. I think something in all of us, however, I think our soul is always wanting to evolve. And I really think that our soul is going to take us to where we need to go to learn these things, honestly. I think sometimes tragic incidents in people's lives wake them up to things like this. I don't know. Those are just the thoughts that come out of my head. But I believe that that all of us, our souls are continually evolving, and that there is a guidance within us, even if we aren't aware of it, that leads us to a place of being more loving, of loving ourselves more. And for some, it takes a really long time. For others, they seem to come into the world knowing it, For others, there's kind of a whole spectrum. But I'd be interested in other people's thoughts on this, frankly. I think that's a great question.
Yeah. And I guess there's a place that knows, right? Whether you call it God, or whether you call it the universe, or whether you call it the higher power. I mean, there's something within you, I guess, that says, you are beautiful, or you are wise, or don't give up, or.
Mm-hmm. Well, I do, and I think there are people in our lives that tell us that. I can think of a couple of family members right now that definitely are having a hard time, and I just know they're going to come out of it because people like myself and other people in the family that do see the highest and best and do love them. It seems like they're stuck and they're never going to get out of it, and I know they are. And here's the other thing, and I see that you have something to say too, Sumay. I'm not ignoring you, but here's the other thing, that the consciousness of love, the more of us, this is why I get so impassioned about love, the consciousness of love, the more of us that grow in this, and it's a growing thing, I don't know that we ever get 100% there, but it's a growing thing. The more of us that grow in this, the more we're lifting the whole frequency of the planet. We're lifting that frequency of love so that more and more people, it becomes available to more and more people. And people who are really searching at any moment might tap into that consciousness of love that you or I or anybody on this call is being. And we never know who's being lifted. I think that's huge. Yeah.
And I think,
Absolutely.
I think just on that, and then I think that also that's what happens in families, right? So sometimes when, let's just take kids in their teenage years. The rest of the family either loves them through it and sticks with it, or if everything goes, astray, then things will sometimes go astray. But I mean, it's that love or that bond or that somebody holding that space and anchoring that. So I just wanted to finish that because I know you're going to read stuff.
Yeah.
Yes, I wanted to share, John, I love this. I often ask myself, am I responding with love? It lifts me out of anger and judgment by grace. And I think that's so beautiful because it's a wonderful tool, right? In the moment when we're swirling. That's wonderful. Thank you, John. And I, to your question, Rev Joan, I think that there is something innate in all of us that is, some call it soul, some call it the divine presence that we are, that's just wanting to be acknowledged.
Right.
But for me, it was like this empty feeling that I couldn't, this is, 25 years ago.
Right.
Plus it was like this empty feeling that nothing would fill until I started getting deeper on the spiritual path and learning more and more about who I am. And some people try to fill it with drugs and alcohol, thinking that'll solve it. Some people try to solve it by buying things. If I only had this one thing, my life would be so much better. And I think, everybody's on a different path. And ultimately that kind of emptiness never really gets filled until we start acknowledging the truth of who we are.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I think that's kind of that first step to self-love is starting with that acknowledgement of maybe there's more to me than just what I see in the mirror. Right?
Yeah. 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 There was something else. What was, Oh, I was just thinking in terms of, I was thinking of my older daughter. And it was very rocky with her. She got into drugs, she got into alcohol, she got into some violence, she got into all kinds of things. And I was a single mom. And I basically, at the urgings of actually Reverend Michael and Reverend Nirvana Gale, had to just say, I really can't deal with this. I'm not capable of working with this right now. And so basically she went into the foster care system and all that kind of thing. Anyway, and then when she came out, she was still on this. Now, here's the point I want to make, though. There were so many of us that were more knowing the truth about her. There were so many of us holding her in that place of love. I had read something by Emma Curtis Hopkins, and to this day, it's like the miracles thing. I can't find it, but it was about seeing the Christ, in someone. And I prayed that prayer every single day for her, and was knowing the truth. And at the same time, I had to be very clear about boundaries. It was tough love kind of a thing, really. And just to keep loving and keep loving and keep loving her. And there were several of us at Agape down south that were really focused on this and doing it. Now here's the thing I want to say, it took years, and we have a great relationship now, a really wonderful relationship. And she's now, I think she's going to be 48 this year. Wow, that startled me. Anyway, and, it's really just been about the last 20 years or so that, it's really been more smooth. And even then, every once in a while, things would erupt. And in the last 10 years, I'd say it's gotten really solid. But, she had to go through her journey. And that's the thing I think to realize about everybody. They're on their own unique journey. And part of loving them is accepting where they are. And yet, at the same time, as Howard Thurman says, accepting someone right where they are and treating them as if they were where you knew they could be.
Yes.
That's what love that is.
And that's the unconditional love. That's the divine love. That's the,
yes.
I don't need you to be any different for me to know the truth of who you are.
Yeah.
And I might not want to be around you.
Right. Yeah. I do.
In the midst of all of that.
Yeah.
And I know that you are a divine being perfectly expressed in this moment, the Christ presence
absolutely
embodied.
That's pure love, to be able to really. And what I realized was that my finite self in my human mind, I couldn't get there.
Yeah.
And being anchored in divine love, that aspect of me that is divine, which is in every one of us, can easily be there and can love anybody in the midst of anything. It doesn't mean I have to tolerate behavior. Doesn't mean I condone bad behavior. And it means I see the truth of you. I know the truth of you.
Yeah.
You know,
and it doesn't have to be, you know, you're demonstrating the truth of you doesn't have to be on my timeline. Right. Which is sometimes really, you know, I know from experience that can be challenging.
That's what's challenging. Yeah, I know. Because everybody would keep saying to me about it. They'd say, oh, yeah, and just give her a couple of years. And I'm like, I couldn't get hooked into how long it was going to take.
Yeah.
Because it just seemed, yeah. So anyway, you all get that point. But it's loving during those hard times, too. It's loving the person who comes into my office. And thank God I don't have that now, but who knows? It could pop up again. And being able to be undefended and to find in myself a place that can love this person, you know, that's,
yeah.
It's love is such a powerful practice, and it's not an emotion. I want to be real clear about that. It's not an emotion. It's a state of consciousness.
And it's not airy-fairy.
No,
right?
It's not airy-fairy.
A lot of times you think, especially around this time of year, love is like this airy-fairy and chocolates and roses and, you know, the little candy hearts and all of that. And it's love is just the most powerful force there is.
It really
when
is.
we really think about it and in the context that we're describing, and when we limit it to kind of that really cursory surface level way many of us think about love, we're missing. It's like the image that just popped into my head was an iceberg, right? Where you see the teeny tiny tip and the rest of it is underwater that you can't see when you're on the ocean.
Yeah. And it doesn't, you know, in different people, it looks differently. It doesn't have to look a particular way, and you don't have to, you know, feel it. And when I say feel it, I mean the emotional kind of feeling that we get sometimes. It's such a knowingness within, and it's such all I can think of the word is, it's just such a state of consciousness. I remember once saying to Reverend Michael down at Agape, when I was doing pastoral care down there, and I said, you know, everybody tells me I'm so loving, and I don't feel particularly loving a lot of the time. And, you know.
Got a good act then, Rev Joan.
Yeah, you know, here I am doing pastoral care, and I don't feel particularly loving all the time. And so, and what he told me was so profound, I've always remembered. He said, that's because love isn't an emotion. He said, love is a state of consciousness. And he said, you are that state of consciousness. And that's, you know, because I think so many people get it confused, especially around Valentine's Day and days when we're supposed to, you know, show our love in certain ways.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So couple comments. Thank you, Rodney. That's lovely. Appreciate it. And then John, I have a lovely friend who says, oh, isn't that interesting, instead of judging. And I that's one of my favorite go-tos. I don't know about you guys.
I love that one. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I don't have to have an opinion. Like that's been like the one of the bigger learnings for me on this path is I don't have to have an opinion. And like my parent, and I grew up in a household where everybody had an opinion and everyone would debate. And, you know, we'd have our Thanksgiving dinners with, you know, some of my parents' oldest friends, and the guy and my dad would just argue. And it wasn't a bad thing. They were arguing in fun and they just liked to debate, but everyone had really strong opinions. And for me, that has been, and it's still something I'm challenged with on a regular basis, but my go-to is having an opinion. So that practice that John's talking about, which I also have adopted, has been really helpful in reminding me that I don't have to.
Yeah. I that whole thing about opinions is interesting to me because I love it. I've been working with that for a long time, not having opinions. And people will say, well, gosh, if you don't have an opinion, how can you know
Right.
how to vote or how to, and I'm just divinely guided all the time. I don't have to have a preconceived opinion about anything. And then there's the thing too, and I'm putting this out more as a question for everybody. Then there's the thing too, I can have an opinion, but I don't have to be opinionated.
Yes.
Then there's that whole way.
Awesome.
That's a whole conversation in itself
that will have you back for that show.
Because really, what does an opinion do? It separates me from you, because when I don't have an opinion, I can really listen wholeheartedly and whole-souledly.
Yeah.
When I have an opinion, I'm listening, but I'm listening in order to respond.
That's so good.
In order to give
wonderful reminder.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a good show. We have to explore that one a little bit more.
I love that one. Yeah. So I wanted to, I don't know how much more time we have. I wanted to do a brief exercise and also give that Howard Thurman quote. How much time do we have?
We have as much time as you need. I'm just going to share something from TC, who says her late husband was really into recreational arguing. I love that, TC.
I never heard of that. I love it.
But that pretty much sums up, the environment I grew up in, and I've never heard it. I love it. I'm taking it.
I love it too. Oh my gosh, that's great.
I also want to say that I think that, in listening to this conversation, what's come up for me, when we're talking about, being able to see the divine and this and that, is if you don't know anything about spirituality, or if God isn't your go-to or any of that, what I'm hearing is if you could just, if a person can just witness the love, whether it's in a puppy or whether it's in a bowl of chocolate ice cream or whatever it is, whatever it is that they can just witness the love or the greatness, the beingness, the whatever the emotion is, and can they then just apply it to themselves? Can they just, they just walk away and even if it doesn't feel comfortable, can they commit to being that love? Can they know that that's within them, even if they're not sure? Can that be the thought they start with to start on the path? And when I was thinking about that, I was thinking the next thing I would say is to invite them to what's happening at Agape on Sunday, because I think the ceremony that you're doing. So can you tell us a little bit about that before we do your thing?
Oh, yeah. So Sunday, a couple of things are happening at Agape Sunday. One is Dr. Sue Morter, who Reverend Cindy talked about last week. She's amazing energy healer. So she's going to be there for the service. And then at 1:00, we're going to have a renewal of vows ceremony. It's a little bit different from your traditional renewal of vows, because where we start is vowing to ourselves, vowing to love ourselves. So it starts with that. And then for any couples, that are in relationship that want to speak vows to each other, it goes into that as well. But it starts with, a good chunk of it is just loving ourselves and vowing to that, really making a vow to love myself. And which means that I get to love, like I said at the very beginning, I get to love every part of myself. Dr. What's his name now? Dr. Lou. Anyway, he does the Ho'oponopono, Stanley Liu. Yeah, he does Ho'oponopono, and the way he does it. Yes, thank you. Over in Hawaii, and the way that I saw him do it on YouTube was a different way than I've ever seen anybody do it. And what he would do is, start with, I love you, but here's the thing. He said, don't direct it towards someone else. You're directing it to yourself. I love you, meaning I love every part of you. So it's like, this divine self of me gets to say, I love you. And then I'm sorry that I haven't paid more attention. I'm sorry I've perhaps ostracized parts of myself, parts, and then please forgive me and thank you. And that's a powerful practice. I practiced that for quite a while, and I worked with clients sometimes in practicing that so that they can really get that sense of loving themselves. And you don't have to do a divine love. You can say the adult part of you, there's loving the child part of you. There are all kinds of ways it can be palatable for anybody, not necessarily using.
Love that. I'm gonna have to run to look for that video on YouTube.
Well, the thing, and the thing is, I wish I had kept the link, because it's not this. I have not been able to find it ever. This is
I'm sensing a pattern.
Time together. This is a pattern for me. I see these things, and then where is it? I can't find it.
Maya, can you just put up Agape Bay Area .com on the screen, or .org?
.org. Is it .com? It's .com, I think. Gosh, that's pretty bad that I don't even remember it.
I just want people to be able to get the information or find.
Yeah, so for the both for the service and for the renewal of vows, go to agapebayarea.com and just click into the Zoom link at the very top. And that same Zoom link that takes you to a Sunday service will take you to the renewal of vows at 1 o'clock as well.
Awesome. And then they can find information for Youre.
Yeah.
There as well.
On the website as well.
Perfect.
Yeah. And it's on our I believe it's on our Facebook page also. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So.
And they can also find information.
What's that, Robin?
They can also find the information for Samaya and my upcoming class.
Yes, for Real to Real. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that. So why don't you say something about that?
We will at the end. We want to just let you. I just wanted, if you wanted to finish up whatever we wanted to do something with the Howard Thurman quote.
Yeah, this is my very favorite Howard Thurman quote of all times. And I'm just going to read it because to me, it's what love is all about. Yeah. I want to be more loving in my heart, that with unconscious awareness and deliberate intent, I shall be a kind, a gracious human being. Thus, those who walk the way with me may find it easier to love, to be gracious, because of the love of God, which is increasingly expressed in my living. And I absolutely love that quote. With unconscious awareness and deliberate intent. In other words, I always have the intention to be loving, and it becomes so embodied in me that my awareness of it is unconscious, that I'm just not even conscious that I'm trying to be loving. It just happens. That makes sense to you all.
It 100%, because it's like when you were saying, when you were down at Agape down south, mm-hmm. and in the pastoral care, and they would comment on your being loving, and you didn't always feel that way. It was so embodied.
Yeah, exactly. So I love that unconscious awareness, so we aren't trying, and deliberate intent. There's that intention underneath everything. Howard Thurman is just.
That's beautiful. I love that. I love Howard Thurman, and I love that quote.
Yeah. I do
so
too.
A question for you is that's this Sunday, correct?
Yes, this Sunday.
Service starts at?
Service is at 11. There's actually, if you want to be there for the meditation, there's a 10:30 meditation and 11 o'clock service. And then the renewal of vows is at 1 o'clock.
And then Youre is at 2?
No, she's at the 11 o'clock service.
She's speaking at the 11 o'clock service.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, yeah. Good. I'm glad we clarified.
I'm glad you cleared it too. Yeah. No, I wouldn't have put the renewal vows if she was going to do something else. Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah. So be there or be square at 11 or 10:30 if you want to do the meditation.
I encourage you to do the meditation. It's always wonderful. Yeah.
So what practice are you going to leave us with?
Okay, and it's so funny, not funny, but it's just so synchronicity, and such synchronicity, Robin, that you said what you said, because it's pretty much what you said is the practice that I'm going to give you. So
there's only one mind.
One mind, yes. So let's just take a moment, and I'll move through it fairly quickly, but it would be good if we did it together. And it'll take just a few minutes here. I'll do it quickly. So I invite us to, first of all, take a deep breath. Allow yourself to be in a meditative space. And I invite you to breathe into your heart space. Just this one simple practice of breathing into your heart activates divine love within you more fully, more expansively. So take a few seconds and consciously breathe into your heart. It's like you're inhaling into your heart space and you're exhaling from your heart space. And during this experience, keep breathing into your heart. You might feel it expand, even physically. You might feel it get warmer, and you might not. It doesn't matter. Just trust and know that you are activating love, animating it. And so in this place of the heart right now, I invite you to bring into your awareness someone or something that you love and that you're grateful for. Perhaps it's someone that's allowed you to feel loved. Someone that you love and feel grateful for. And just keep breathing into your heart. And as you're being aware of this person or this situation, allow the love, that feeling of love that it brings up, to expand. And now I invite you to bring into your heart yourself, your human self, with all of your flaws, if there be any, all those things that perhaps you haven't in the past liked about yourself. Bring yourself in all your humanness into that space of pure love within your heart. Know that you're cherished, that you're in this place of absolute divine love that cherishes you always, for you are its own. And keep breathing into your heart. And now keeping yourself in your heart, keeping this individual or circumstance that makes you feel loved and loving. Bring someone or something into your heart that perhaps you may have had a challenge with, that doesn't feel quite so loving. Again, just bring this person into your heart. It's perfectly safe. And let divine love envelop and embrace this individual, this circumstance. And I invite you to be aware of the oneness here. That the person that you love and yourself and this person that might be a challenge are all one. And you all abide in the loving heart, in the loving embrace of the divine. This exercise only takes a couple of minutes. You can do it in almost anywhere, anytime, any place. You can spend more time with it in meditation if that serves you. And so one more deep breath. And I invite you, as you open your eyes, as you allow yourself to be aware visually and hearing all that's around you, to keep this sense of love. Keep this sense of love with you as you go through your day. And I feel complete.
Oh, that was beautiful.
Thank you, Samaya. Thank you, Robin. You do beautiful. You're both just amazing. I love you both so much, and so
Right back
grateful
at you.
And all
Thank
of you who are here. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for. I can't imagine anyone else being here on this day to discuss this topic. That's perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, everybody, for all your comments and hanging in there.
Absolutely. So, do you want to tee up? Oh, wait, let me get our little flyer up. Woo!
So as Rev Joan and us were saying, we have our class Real to Real coming up. And it's going to be so much fun. It's going to be so much fun to play together. And basically what it is, we're going to look at some movies, some old, some new, and just really see what we see that's new and resonate in our life, what life lessons there are to be learned, what things we might not have seen when we saw some of these things 20 years ago, and see different plots and characters and life lessons and what we take away from it. But it'll be fun. I guarantee you that.
Absolutely. Without doubt, it will be fun. So you can register if you want to learn more and register. You can visit eventbrite.com and just do a quick search for Real to Real. I also have included the link in the show description, so you should be able to find it below this video on both YouTube and Facebook. And then one important reminder is that our early bird pricing ends on Monday. So if you are interested, take advantage of the early bird pricing. And because we all like to go to the movies with our friends, we've also got a save 25% on your combined registration when you register with a friend. And so if you register with a friend by Monday, you get both the early bird and the 25% off register with a friend discount. So take advantage, join us.
I just want to add to that and part of the money goes to Agape.
Absolutely.
So you are also supporting the good work in the world that Agape Bay Area does.
Absolutely. And did I miss anything else? Okay.
Next we'll be talking about prayer and the power of our word.
Absolutely. So thank you, Lava. Thank you, Rodney and TC and John. Thank you for joining us, and anybody else who was here for the show.
And let us know if you do the practice. Let us know how it goes and what comes up in the for you with it. If you adopt it as something you do during the week.
Absolutely. Share with us. And two last things. One, if you are interested in staying in touch and want to get updates on our weekly shows, 3 things you can do. One is subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Subscribe, hit the notification bell so you will get notified when we are going to do lives. If you are on Facebook and prefer that instead, just be sure to follow our Facebook page at facebook.com/girlsbehavingmetaphysically. And if you want to stay up to date on other information about what we are up to, visit girlsbehavingmetaphysically.com and just sign up for our email list. We will keep you, we promise we won't spam you. We will just keep you updated on the latest and greatest happenings. And oh, wait, 2 more things. One, if you found this helpful, please be sure to, and you think you have friends or family who might enjoy the show, please share on YouTube, Facebook, or your favorite social media outlets, and let other folks know, and smash that like button.
And that's it.
And that is a wrap for sure. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have an awesome weekend and a great week. We will see you back here next Friday. Take care. Lots of love.
Good weekend. Bye.